Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Duluth, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. This is a headline from Reuters. Mark Zuckerberg said Biden administration pressured Meta, which is the new name for Facebook, to censor COVID-19 content. And boy, somebody hacked into the Zuckerbot. That's all I can say. He's gone wrong. I mean, he might be autistic, but he's not stupid. He's getting ahead of what has been determined to be a monumental crash and backlash for a failed global attempt. So let me just tell you, so this is how Reuters reported this story, Chris. It says Meta platform CEO Mark Zuckerberg said the Biden administration had pressured the company to censor. I like how they put censor in quotes. To censor COVID-19 content during the pandemic, apparently referring to White House requests to take down misinformation about the coronavirus and vaccines. Now, Reuters put censor in quotes, but misinformation is not. That's kind of that. This is the lie, and that was the truth. That's exactly how Reuters is going to report that. And here's the letter. So he sent a letter to Jim Jordan in the Congress and Oversight Committee, and he said, this is directly from Zuckerberg. He said, in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the pressure was wrong, he says, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to the pressure from any administration and either direction, and we are ready to push back if something like this happens again. So that's directly from him. And you have to wonder, okay, so why is he saying this now? Mm-hmm. And so I have a couple ideas. One is that first of all, it would have been much more helpful had he said this a while ago, a couple months ago, before the decision in Missouri versus the Biden administration, and the court ruled incorrectly about that censorship. And if they would have had this to point to, hey, even the head of Meta says that they were being that would have maybe changed that outcome, but it's too late. So it's a little too late. But I think he's saying this because there must be a whistleblower coming out or something, or, he's got a lot of lobbyists, and lobbyists, they talk both ways. So maybe he's finding out that the Republicans in Congress are getting ready to do something to him. And so I don't know what it is, but it's fishy. Here, I have one more. Let me read this one more thing. He says, in July 2021, President Joe Biden, a Democrat, said social media platforms like Facebook this is from Reuters, are killing people. I mean, I remember when he said that, for allowing misinformation about coronavirus vaccines to be posted on its platform. Others, like former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, the P silent because it's sexy, and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy publicly said the company was not doing enough to take down misinformation and was making it harder to fight the pandemic and save lives. Facebook said at the time it was taking aggressive steps to fight such misinformation. The Biden administration ultimately eased up on its criticism of Facebook, even as vaccine lies continued to spread on social media. That's Reuters saying that. And I just want to show you some of the lies that they're talking about that we're spreading. And son of a gun, guess who was spreading them?
The various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
So that was a lie, and that was coming from the president of the United States, who was pressuring Facebook to censor people for telling lies about COVID. And Reuters also backs them up, saying there were lies. But they never say that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, was lying, because that was a lie. Here's some more.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Now, that was a lie, and she knew it was a lie at the time. The data didn't change. That was always a lie. And then here's our number one liar and promoter of fake news. It's Rachel Maddow.
We know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
That's why they're barking.
A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
So those were all lies. So none of those got censored on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. None of those lies ever got censored ever. What got censored was the truth of where the virus came from. It came from a lab in Wuhan. That got censored. And you were called a white supremacist. They called everybody a white supremacist who said that. No kidding. They said, no, it came from these dirty Chinese people in their wet markets, which is more racist, saying it came from a lab that was funded by Fauci, by the way, illegally through a CIA cutout called EcoHealth Alliance. And then we now know that they all lied to cover that up. Because Matt Orfala's great reporting showed us that. Then they lied about herd immunity. They lied about natural immunity. They lied about masks, lied about transmission, contraction. There wasn't side effects, adverse events. There wasn't a thing they didn't lie about. And still to this day, it's hard to find people who are pissed off about it besides me. So what do you think? Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg now, even though we're still being censored, you were censored, my Facebook page just yesterday, they kicked me off Facebook. My Jimmy Dore show Facebook page, they kicked me off. But then they just let us on this morning for some reason. They go, hey, we're going to let you back on. But what do you think is the timing, or what do you could?
I can't guess on why Zuckerberg did it. However, I mean, it's money. I mean, let's be clear. These pharmaceutical corporations made billions. And of course, the way that they increase their profit is to make everyone afraid, and it worked, and of course they lied. I mean, the big one was, I was teaching in the prison system, so and we had COVID running rampant in the prison, and I remember, if you get it, you can't transmit it. Remember that one?
Yeah, remember that.
Turns out that if you get it, you can be, what do they call it? You can be a kind of silent carrier, but
asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, but you still spread it. I mean, yeah, you're right. But of course, it was a big campaign to make sure everybody, that they sold vaccines, and of course, a lot of the money was made. They were given federal funds in order to create the vaccine. I mean, there was this so much better than I do, but there was one company that just made insane amounts of money. So
that would be Pfizer and Moderna.
Moderna, and Pfizer, yeah. So it's, it's.
They created.
I don't know. I don't know why Zuckerberg's calling it out. It's interesting, but you're right. There's probably something going on.
They created a panic over a virus with a 99.5% survivability rate, right. Which they lied and kept saying it was 3 to 5% death rate. That was never true. It was only deadly to people who were had comorbidities, and the average age of death from COVID is 82 years old. In fact, after Bill Gates sold his stock in Pfizer, which he bought it for $50 million, he sold it for $500 million. And as soon as he sold it, he started trashing the vaccine. He said, COVID doesn't have a high fatality rate, which it doesn't, and that it was kind of like the flu, but a little different. That's right out of Bill Gates' mouth right after he sold his stock, and he said the vaccine doesn't stop transmission. It doesn't really do a good job. We got to get. There's a lot of problems with it. That's after he made his $500 million. So the 82 years old is the average age, and Bill Gates then said, "Well, it's a lot like the flu." I'm pretty sure that's very much like the flu. And kids, they've mandated children. They're still mandating some places that college kids have to take it. It was never a threat to children. Children had a bigger threat of dying from the flu than they ever had of COVID. And that comes right from the New York Times, New York Magazine, right? So, but they never print that on the front page, and that always gets buried, just like Chomsky taught us. But anyway, it's the biggest outrage of my life. To me, it's a bigger story than the Iraq War. It's a bigger story than anything, because more people died from COVID. And if they actually died from the virus, the way the establishment wants us to believe, then Dr. Fauci is a bigger killer than Hitler because he's the one who funded that virus, right? That came from gain of function. Now even the FBI agrees it came from gain of function that they did at Wuhan, which Barack Obama had did a pause on, and he funded it through a CIA cutout through EcoHealth Alliance, and he lied to Congress twice when he was asked if he was funding that by Rand Paul. He lied twice, but of course there's never a price to pay when you're lying at the behest of the establishment. There's only a price to pay if you don't lie for the establishment. So I think COVID was and it's amazing to me how many people missed the story, and it fell on people like me and Joe Rogan, and who I'm not equipped to handle these stories, but no one else was doing it. There was a guy named Dr. John Campbell. He's still on YouTube, and he at first bought into it like me. I was scared to death. I got double vaxxed. They got me, and then as soon as I got vaccine injured, a doctor started treating me, and he gave me ivermectin, and I go, hey, I don't want that horse dewormer. And then he's the one who informed me. He said, Jimmy, this is a miracle drug. They were looking at it to cure cancer before COVID, and it's won the Nobel Prize for human medicine. And the reason why they're doing that is because it's cheap. You can get it for pennies. And they want you to do this. The same thing they did during AIDS. Fauci did the same thing. It's the same playbook. And that woke me up. And boy, did I lose a lot of friends. If you have information, just like you say, if you're on there's no price to pay. You're not on a moral crusade, and that certainly I had a big price to pay. I'm still being slandered as an anti-vaxxer and an anti-science and a grifter for telling the truth about COVID. There's not one thing I got wrong about it, and the idea that Chris Cuomo will now say, well, I didn't know. We didn't know. No, you didn't want to know. Somehow I knew. I knew how to get Dr. Robert Malone, the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology. I got him on my show. I was able to get the leading cardiologist in the country, Dr. Robert McCullough, on my show. I was able to get Mel Horta from the UK. I was able to get all these people on my show, but somehow Chris Cuomo didn't have that. So that's all lies. Those people didn't tell you the truth because they were being paid not to tell you the truth. And then when Chris Cuomo got vaccine injured, all of a sudden now he wants to tell you the truth. Okay. All right. That's enough of my soapbox.
Well, just to say, look, all of these pharmaceuticals, they're some of the biggest advertisers that the media have. I mean, so of course they're going to dance to the tune that they play. They're not going to alienate those pharmaceutical companies. They depend on them, especially since the news media is in free fall in terms of advertising dollars.
So I would report on this show that Anderson Cooper makes $12 million a year, and $9 million of it comes from Big Pharma. So then Big Pharma funded fact-checking outlets, fact-check that, and they say that's fake news, that we're going to debunk it. And the way they said, they pretended I said that it was a secret payment. They go, there was no secret payment. I never said it was a secret payment. I'm saying that $9 million of his $12 million salary comes from Big Pharma. So you can't, anything with fact check in it is garbage. There's a billionaire money somewhere funding that fact check organization, and it's got a political agenda, and it's got nothing to do with informing the public. Interest rates have dropped, and right now is the perfect time to call the people over at American Financing. They're a family-owned company that is helping people just like you create meaningful savings every month. They are salary-based mortgage consultants, and they look at your full financial picture, all of your debts, including those frustrating credit card balances where you're paying upwards of 20 and 30% in interest payments every month, and they work with you to create a loan program where they wipe that all out. And in some cases, they have some cash left over to create some emergency savings. American Financing is a true partner in helping you and your family save money. They never charge any upfront or hidden fees. It costs you absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. Their average customer is saving over $800 a month. And if you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. So what do? You call 888-804-0303. That's 888-804-0303, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Jimmy. Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Duluth, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.